Right now on Matter of Fact, the head of the Democratic Party looks ahead to the midterm elections.
Your question for me was, what are we doing in 2018? And the answer is, we're learning from our mistakes of the past.
Find out what he says about his dream ticket for 2020.
Would you support Oprah Winfrey as the Democratic candidate for presidency in 2020?
Plus, he's a hermit who's become a hero to climatologists. How he survived 45 harsh winters on top of an isolated mountain. And his small daily ritual that's helping scientists understand the big problem of climate change. But first, the immigration impasse, a looming government shutdown, and extreme political rhetoric leaves millions of immigrants caught in the middle.
I'm Soledad O'Brien. Welcome to Matter of Fact. While President Trump and Congress argue over a solution to the nation's dreamers, undocumented immigrants who arrived in the country as children, there are new worries for immigrants with TPS, or Temporary Protected Status. TPS is issued by the Department of Homeland Security for people already in the U.S. who can't return to their homes because of civil war or natural disasters. So right now, there are 10 countries that are designated for TPS, but this week the Homeland Security Secretary announced the end of protective status for El Salvador, meaning nearly 200,000 Salvadoran immigrants will have to leave by September of next year. Republican Congressman Randy Hultgren from Illinois is the co-chair of the Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission. He's been a supporter of the TPS designation, even when it means going against his own party. It's so nice to have you with us.
It's good to be with you.
Thank you. So why do you think this is happening now? At max, we're talking like 320,000 people who fall under this TPS designation in 10 countries. Why this now, do you think?
The Salvadorians are the largest group who have received this temporary protective status. It's a little over 200,000 of the total in the program. So this is the largest grouping of that. So I'm not really sure. There has been several letters over the last months knowing that this date for extension was coming up. El Salvador still is not in a position to accept 200,000 people back. What
would be the impact, do you think, if in fact you ended up sending 200,000 El Salvadorans
Well,
back?
I think you have some people at risk. I think people would go into dangerous situations, continued violence, and some people who really do need the protection wouldn't have that protection. I also think the reality is a lot of these people are working hard here, doing jobs that are important jobs that not necessarily other Americans are willing or able to take these jobs right now. And yet oftentimes money is being sent back to support family back in El Salvador. At a time when we need workers who are doing welding or construction work or other things that skilled, important work, we would lose some of these people. And I hear it every place I go in my district in the suburbs of Chicago that companies are looking to hire these types of people, and we'd lose a sector of them.
Some of the Salvadorans who are in this country under TPS, would they have opportunities, or should they have opportunities for citizenship, or at least a real pathway to citizenship, as opposed to just sort of being renewed in a temporary status over and over again?
My sense is these temporary protective status people would continue to be temporary. Now, it might still be 17, 20 years before there's change enough back in their countries for them to be able to go back in, or for them to go through the process of being recognized here.
Do you think that you're actually going to be able to get to a resolution, because there are a large number of congresspeople on both sides of the aisle who believe as you do?
I hope we can. I think the one good news, if there is good news, is it's September of 2019. I think it's September 9th, 2019. I know that's going to come fast, but it's almost 2 years away. So there is opportunity for us in the Congress to work to try and find a solution.
How much of this do you think is just the politics of making a stand against immigrants?
Some folks who just don't want to see any programs that have people come to America from other countries. My great-grandparents immigrated from Sweden 100+ years ago for opportunity and also for freedom that they wanted to have here. And so many of us have those kind of stories that America has been, I think still is, an immigrant nation. And we need to make good decisions of what's good for America, but also what can allow us to still be that refuge, that light in the world when someone feels threatened, where they don't feel safe, that if there's no other place to go. America is a place I could go.
Congressman Holtzgren, nice to have you.
Good to be with you. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Next on Matter of Fact, can the Democrats take back control of Congress in November? An honest conversation about making sure their constituents in America's heartland don't feel left out from the party platform.
Our motto and our actions are all about every zip code counts.
Plus, doctors develop a new drug to block the high from opioids.
At a White House meeting this week as the president and members of Congress search for a way to break through the impasse on immigration. At the table, members of both parties invited by the president because of their vocal positions on immigration. More unusual was that the meeting was open to cameras for 55 minutes at the president's direction. So was this an authentic exercise in bipartisan problem solving? Tom Perez is the chair of the National Democratic Party. It's nice to have you back.
Always good to be with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Tell me about the strategy for 2018, the midterms. What's the plan?
What we have to do is scale up what we did in 2017, which was organize early, organize everywhere, field good candidates everywhere, and lead with our values. Tell what we stand for. That's how we won in Virginia, where Ralph Northam became the next governor, and we had historic gains in the Virginia House of Delegates, Phil Murphy in New Jersey, and then Doug Jones in Alabama.
After those elections, you thanked black women of color, essentially, around their role in those elections. And you often hear, and I think more vocally of late, women, black women, Latinas, saying, listen, we're always assumed to be supporting the Democrats, and the Democrats don't necessarily love us back. They need our votes, but they don't necessarily embrace us.
I think it's absolutely accurate. And when I took this position, I went out and did a lot of listening. We took way too many constituencies for granted, including African Americans, including Latinos. And that is why we are out there leading with our values. That's why in Alabama, we invested $1 million roughly in that race. And almost 100% of that was in helping to make sure that we were engaging the African-American community early.
Can you serve those constituents and then also at the same exact time not ignore those constituents who are in your Midwest?
Oh, you know, I categorically reject Soledad, this proposition that some have put forth that you either reach out to white working class voters or you reach out to the diverse quilt that is the Democratic Party. Our motto and our actions are all about every zip code counts.
But it's Democrats who are saying you have to re-engage the heartland, right? Well, this is not some outward critic.
I mean, your question for me was, what are we doing in 2018? And the answer is we're learning from our mistakes of the past. And one of our mistakes from the past is we ignored whole cloth areas of the country. I was in rural Wisconsin early in my tenure, and I heard from someone who said to me, you know, I feel politically homeless because the Democratic Party hasn't been there.
Abandoned is a word that I read.
I've been in Detroit, where a woman at an African-American church said, you've got to stop showing up every 4th October telling me that you care. She's right. All politics is personal. We have to build relationships. That's why we have an investment that we call Democrats for You. We're out there leading with our values. We were out there helping people enroll for the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, because we want people to know that we're fighting 12 months a year for the issues they care most about, whether it's good jobs, whether it's quality education. We were able to win elections in Oklahoma this past summer in 3 state districts that Donald Trump won by double-digit margins, comfortable double-digit margins, because we fielded good candidates. We organized early, and we spoke to the issues that people cared most about. And we can do this. What 2017 has taught me is we can win everywhere in this country.
Would you support Oprah Winfrey as a Democratic candidate for presidency in 2020?
Listen, one of the things that the chair of the Democratic National Committee has to make sure he or she does is to never put the thumb on the scale and say one person should win, one person shouldn't. whether she runs is going to be a decision for Oprah to make. And I predict we will have many, many great candidates for president come 2020.
Who do you think? Tick off some that you think would be.
No,
you're not putting your finger on the scale.
Well,
just give me the.
I think there's a lot of folks who will consider running, and my guess is that there will be, perhaps double digits in the number of candidates.
Tom Perez, nice to have you. Thanks for being with us.
It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
When we come back, State of Addiction.
We have friends who have their 3 grandchildren.
The opioid crisis hitting home for older Americans and getting personal for politicians. Plus, new rules from the White House that just made it easier for millions of American workers to shop for health insurance.
In our special State of Addiction coverage, we dig deeper into America's growing opioid epidemic. Right now, addiction is devastating families and communities in every state. According to the Centers for Disease Control, there were an estimated 66,000 overdose deaths last year, a new and depressing record. But there might be some help on the horizon. Researchers at Walter Reed Army Institute of Research in Maryland are about to launch clinical trials on what could be a major breakthrough in the fight against opioid addiction. It's a vaccine that produces antibodies in the blood that block the euphoria of opioids and reduce the amount of the drug that actually makes it to the brain. Dr. Gary Mattis says it could not only lead to fewer fatal overdoses, but also help people overcome their addiction.
The vaccine blocks the effects of heroin and other opioids. And we also believe that the vaccine would also prevent overdose by decreasing the amount of opioids that can get to the brain in case a very large dose was taken.
There's still a long way to go. Scientists predict 8 to 10 years of further research before the vaccine could be ready for public use. For states with the highest rates of fatal overdoses, like New Hampshire, Ohio, and West Virginia, 8 years is simply too long to wait. They need help now and are asking President Trump to do more. The president has declared the opioid epidemic a public health emergency, but he stopped short of declaring it a national emergency. New Hampshire's senior senator is Jeanne Shaheen, and she says that's been a mistake. She's asking for an additional $25 billion to support treatment efforts. It's nice to have you.
Nice to be with you. And you know, that public health emergency is due to expire on January 23rd.
What tangible results have you seen from that public health declaration?
Well, none, really. The President's Commission has made a number of recommendations that we think will be helpful if they can ever get implemented. But what states and communities need are resources.
So what are you worried about when this declaration expires on the 23rd of January, just around the corner?
Well, that's not going to make much difference. But it is an opportunity to, instead of saying it's a public health emergency, to make it a national emergency. As we saw recently, the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, said that in 2016, 42,000 people died from fatal drug overdoses. You know, if we were losing people to flu or to Ebola at that rate, there would be a public outcry that would demand help at the national level.
The data says epidemic, 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 and it doesn't feel like people are responding at this moment to an epidemic.
Well, that's absolutely right. And we need help for law enforcement. We need help for treatment. We need help for prevention, for recovery services that people need for a long period of time.
All that would go into that $25 billion that you're asking for.
Well, I think that's a down payment. That doesn't solve the problem, but it certainly would help to make a dent.
In Pennsylvania, the governor there, Tom Wolf, declared a statewide epidemic, which to me read as if it was the states sort of going around the federal government because the feds didn't seem to be acting in a way that they needed to. What does that say about Congress if that's what states are forced to do?
Well, I think states are desperate. I know in New Hampshire, our governor and the legislature put in expanded Medicaid several years ago when we passed the Affordable Care Act, because that was one way to get treatment for people with substance use disorders. And that's made a huge difference. Thousands of people have been able to get in treatment because of that. And we've had things like our Safe Station program in the two biggest cities, Manchester and Nashua, where anyone can go into a fire station any time of the day or night and get connected with treatment. And that's so important because when somebody's ready for treatment, if we don't get them into treatment, then they may not be ready again for months, and it may be too late.
Have you seen an impact to the foster care system, that people addicted to opioids have basically lost the ability to care for their children?
It's been huge. And we have friends who have their 3 grandchildren, and he said to me, if I can only live to be 80 to get the youngest one through high school. So this is what families are dealing with, and the foster care system is totally overloaded. And we're not even beginning to think about the impact on that next generation from this epidemic.
Do you think there'll be a political price to pay for the president?
I hope so. And the fact is, it's not enough to give lip service. Over 100 people a day are dying from overdose deaths because of substance use disorders. It's not enough to say, oh, I'm going to help with this. We need real help. We need resources. I do think history will show that we had an opportunity to make a difference, and if we don't do that, shame on us.
Senator Shaheen, it's so nice to have you. Thanks for talking to us.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Coming up next, from Uber drivers in San Francisco to farmers in Wisconsin, the new rules President Trump put in place to give more working Americans a bigger choice in health care. Sounds good, right? So why are so many Democrats fuming? And meet the man who's proving that one person really can make a difference when it comes to helping protect the environment.
And now to our weekly feature we like to call We're Paying Attention, Even If You're Too Busy. This week, Obamacare. It survived President Trump's first year in office, but barely. And it's about to face another major challenge from something you've likely never heard of, ERISA. That's the 1974 Employee Retirement Income Security Act. It's kind of complicated. But when it comes to its impact on Obamacare, it basically sets healthcare requirements for large businesses, allowing them to bypass some of the federal mandates. They can negotiate directly with insurance providers to get more competitive premiums and services. Small businesses and hourly wage earners working full-time were left out until President Trump signed an executive order changing the rules. Now, that just went into effect. And so now, for example, a group of Uber drivers could band together, form an association, and they would be able to opt out of parts of the Affordable Care Act and shop for their own insurance plan. The problem for those who are trying to keep the Affordable Care Act afloat, this pulls more people out of the exchanges and could drive up premiums for those people who are left behind, often those who are the poorest or the sickest. Combined with the Republicans' elimination of the individual mandate in the new tax legislation, many people say this could lead to the end of Obamacare. But clearly, the debate over its future is far from over.
When we return, ever feel like you want to get away from it all? This man did, surviving 45 years in extreme weather on his own. How scientists say his life as a hermit is changing what we know about climate change.
Think you're sick of winter? Well, meet 66-year-old Billy Barr of Gothic, Colorado. He has spent 45 winters alone in the woods. He lives a hermit's life by choice. He landed at Gothic in the Rocky Mountain Biological Lab in 1972 as an environmental science student. Well, now, more than 4 decades later, he's an accidental celebrity in the world of climate scientists. Barr lived at the lab for a while and then built a cabin nearby, complete with solar power. He learned to survive gathering wood for heat, skiing more than 8 miles to the nearest town for provisions. To pass the time, Barr began a daily ritual, recording high and low temperatures, snowfall and depth, when birds and flowers emerge and when they disappear. And he's filled a lot of diaries. And then over time, he switched to computer spreadsheets and began to share his observations online. Now, he says he never intended to prove a particular point, but as climate scientists reviewed his meticulous records, they found a trend: more record high temperatures, fewer record low temperatures during the last decade or so, and fewer days of snow-covered ground. Barr says his records show that climate change is real. Barr has also recorded the baseball statistics for the Philadelphia Phillies since 1961. Who knows what his analysis is on that, because they have not had a winning season since 2011. I'm Soledad O'Brien, and for The Record, we'll see you back here next week for a special edition of Matter of Fact. We're coming to you from Miami. We'll see you then.